Do we have to make a report on this? Fine. Shovel worms. These little annoying pieces of shit. We thought they were water pillars. For so long we thought they were water pillars. Until a recent study found them to be a whole different lineage of sucker descendants, and we had to restructure our entire understanding of the exoanimal cladogram. Well, shovel worms only lived in the abyss, with the coralliforms. Most species ate coralliforms, mostly softer specimens which did not have a shell like hair grasses. Shovel worms possessed a through-gut like water pillars, and some semblance of a stomach. Also, like their surface-dwelling relatives, these sucker descendants evolved a kind of eye. 2 eye spots on each side of their bilateral body plan, found in most species only near one side of the organism, opposed to the broader distribution of eyes in water pillars. These spots could only detect infrared light, and they mostly used them to make sure they didn't wander too far from the hydrothermal vents they lived around. Wonder, indeed, for these sucker descendants had legs, or something akin to them. It wasn't limbs really, it was just a skin membrane which later on in some lineages separated into 2 distinct appendages. There were 3 kinds of shovel worms: scoopers, the tritopores with an almost identical niche to the scratchers above, pokers, similar to proboscids in their body shape but with an entirely different niche, and giraffaces, the smallest and strangest clade of basal shovel worms we have found to date. These last 2 were herbivores, or coralliformivores I suppose. Pokers had their mouths on the tip of a long proboscis, which they jammed into cracks in the coralliform's shells. They possessed a beak-like structure, with which they actually broke the mineralized shells, gathering minerals from them and then moving on to the nutrient-rich flesh of the coralliforms beneath. The giraffaces, meanwhile, used another strategy to circumvent the mineralization of the abyss's denizens: size. The few species we found were huge compared to other shovel worms, especially in their necks. They towered above the smallest coralliforms, and easily fed on the branches of stone corals and flailers without anything to stop them. So, remember when I said some shovel worms did have legs? Apparently they don't call these shovel worms anymore. This clade is now known as the crawlers. They are most closely related to pokers, and this can be seen with their whitish beaks, made from similar materials to the shells of coralliforms. Depending on the arrangement of mouth parts they had, crawlers have been categorized into 3 subclasses: upbeaks, side grabbers, and star mouths. Upbeaks were the most basal kind of crawler, with front-facing legs clearly derived from the skin membrane of their ancestors, and a mostly herbivorous diet. The other kinds of crawlers tended towards carnivory, meanwhile. Not much is known about side grabbers since we have little fossils of them this early, but what we can know is that they were mostly arboreal. They used their legs, arranged perpendicularly to their body, to grab coralliform branches and do something. We're unsure of their diet, but it's hypothesized that they drop down to catch slow-moving prey like scoopers. Or caught swimming prey perhaps, we don't know. Finally, we have starbeaks, the fastest, which for this time period doesn't really mean much, and fiercest predators of the deep. Their mouths, like those of certain maraca worms, were made of multiple radially arranged beak sections which could open to resemble a flower, hence their name. They used this to both cut and capture prey while bouncing on the seafloor with their 2 vertical legs and their tail, which some species use as a partial 3rd leg. That's all for now on these fantastic things. This is Hnrrienkast signing off.